Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/JustNoMil. In today's episode, Mother throws tantrum over wedding guest list. MIL inviting herself over. MIL says I'm not a first-time mom, SHE is a first-time grandma. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Mother throws tantrum over wedding guest list. First time posting here, would love some advice on how to handle this situation. Some background: I'm 29 am getting married in my parents' backyard in about a month. My mom has a terrible relationship with her in-laws, due to petty family drama. Nothing that I would consider worthy of disowning ever happened, and asked me not to invite any of them to the wedding. I have a pretty good relationship with my uncle and a couple of my cousins, so I figured, it's my wedding, I'll invite who I want to invite and my mom can just avoid them if she doesn't want to talk to them. Last night, my fiancé, 25F, and I are walking around the backyard with my mom talking through wedding plans when my fiancé mentions that the cousins should be included at the family table. My mom responds by having a full-scale meltdown, shouting at the top of her lungs about how she despises them and is disgusted that I would invite them. My fiancé and I just stood there stunned, having no idea how to respond. Now my fiancé is terrified of my mom and doesn't want to speak up in front of her in fear of eliciting another outburst like this. She's also concerned that my mom is going to make things tense or uncomfortable at the wedding because the in-laws are there. My question for you all: I typically wouldn't cave to this kind of a tantrum, but I'm considering disinviting those in-laws because A. I want to do everything in my power to make the wedding too comfortable for my wife to be. B. The wedding is at her house and she's been helping a lot in the planning process leading up to this. What would you suggest? Edit, additional context. Thank you all for the replies, all very salient points. The thing that complicates it is that it's also my dad's home and he still loves his family. I initially didn't plan to invite the cousins per my mom's request, but a few weeks ago my dad comes to me asking why they didn't get invited. I explained that my mom made it clear she didn't want them there. He went and talked to my mom and she told him it was a huge misunderstanding. I knew she was lying, but I talked to my dad and he basically gave me the green light to invite them, saying, they're your family, if you want them there you're welcome to invite them. Last night, when she found out that they're coming, the whole pretense of it being a misunderstanding fell apart as soon as she started shouting about how she can't believe I invited them. Your mom is being manipulative. If she offered up what sounds like is both her and your dad's home for your wedding, obviously, she had to expect you would invite relatives from your dad's side of the family. But uninviting them is not the right thing to do here, because it will send the message to your fiancé that you allow yourself to be manipulated by your mom. Not a good look for a future husband. IMO, you should find another venue and invite who you want. Have security ready to escort your mother off the property should she misbehave. I agree with everything you've said. Find another venue. Refusing to let people she's not comfortable with into her home is not manipulation. My fiancé is terrified of my mom and doesn't want to speak up in front of her in fear of eliciting another outburst like this. Dude. Have the wedding somewhere else. Invite cousins. Don't invite your mom. Read my quote again. Thank you all for the replies, all very salient points. I want to address one thing that might be helpful context. The thing that complicates it is that it's also my dad's home and he still loves his family. I initially didn't plan to invite the cousins per my mom's request, but a few weeks ago my dad comes to me asking why they didn't get invited. I explained that my mom made it clear she didn't want them there. He went and talked to my mom and she told him it was a huge misunderstanding. I knew she was lying, but I talked to my dad and he basically gave me the green light to invite them, saying, "They're your family, if you want them there you're welcome to invite them. Then you should go ahead and invite the people you want if it's a misunderstanding. Move the wedding. If possible, this is the best answer. While I'm usually down for bride and groom have final say, as your mother is hosting the event you do need to take her wants into consideration. Especially considering you're inviting people into her home. If you can't smooth it over, moving everything is probably your best move." I read your comment how your dad asked you to invite them and your mom said it was a big misunderstanding, and she had nothing against it. So, we are talking about your mom being manipulative and trying to pitch you against your paternal family. I mean, wouldn't your uncle, who you said you have a good relationship with, be hurt if he was uninvited just a few weeks before the wedding? I think you should talk to your dad again and make sure you're all on the same side. On the other hand, in my opinion such a tantrum is often used as a manipulation tactic. If you cave now, you might be in a never-ending circle of that, and I don't think this is a nice view at the future, right? Your mom needs to build a bridge and get the F***ck over it. She has a problem with these people, not you. She needs to put her big girl panties on, plaster a smile on her face, and play nice for the day, for the sake of her son. This is 100% of her problem. Why should the mother get over herself? It's her home and she's allowed to refuse to let in people she's not comfortable with. Would you tell Adele posting here she should get over herself and let her MIL invite whoever she wants into her home? Or he and his dad could not stomp on mom's boundaries because dad wants them to be invited. OP has no idea how bad it really was for his mom. I'm sure he's either never been told the whole truth or it was sugar-coated when he was told a long time ago. I'll just say that giving into tantrums only teaches them to throw a tantrum even sooner next time. You arrange a new venue, give her a few days, then call her and explain that it is your wedding. You understand she hates some of the guests and empathize with how frustrating that must be, but they are invited regardless and she can either decide it's worth it to come anyway and just avoid them, or she can decide it isn't worth it and stay home. You won't entertain an outburst like that again. Happy Cake Day. I see a lot of people saying it's mom's house, so she gets to veto your guests. I have a couple of issues with that. Isn't it also dad's house, who said bring him on? Also, this isn't the everyday family gathering. In this instance the home is the venue. Mom knew there would be people there that she may not know, approve of, or have any intentions of ever laying her baby blues on again. I feel like if mom was having her birthday at your place and she wanted to invite a real wanker, that you would bear it because it is her day. How is this different? Didn't she offer or accept her home for this wedding out of love and a desire to ease your way? Maybe not. They weren't invited until after OP talked to his dad and he gave him the green light knowing his mom was lying about them not being invited was a misunderstanding. MIL inviting herself over? MIL is awful. An actual narcissist. Stayed for 2 weeks to visit our newborn baby and brought bags of random junk she had laying around the school-aged kid. She texted us in a group chat and asked us to give her dates for when she can come stay with us soon. I said that during the school year is not ideal, period, and she was just here a couple of weeks ago. And she said, talk it over and let me know when I can come. Husband says to just ignore the texts and not give her dates, but I'd feel more comfortable if he'd back me up and say, that isn't going to work for us, maybe we can figure out a weekend during a school break. Or tell her she can't come at a because neither of us want her to. But he won't do either. LOL. She constantly crosses the boundaries we have set. We ask her not to post public pics of the kids, on her multiple social media accounts, does it all the time and we have to ask her to remove them. Kissed the baby on the mouth 3 times. Posted on a public forum that my OCD caused her OCD to trigger, because it was cleaning my house after she brought a ton of random junk over. Has borrowed, and stolen, money from my husband prior to us being married. Is not helpful. Just wants to hold the baby and tell me that I shouldn't be exclusively breastfeeding BC. It doesn't allow her to bond with the baby. And said, I'd breastfeed you if I could. EW. Constantly comparing everything to herself. We made the decision for me to stay home with our kids and she said, must be nice. I went back after 6 weeks. I was sore after birth while they visited. Because I was 2 weeks postpartum when they stayed for 2 weeks. And she didn't understand how because her babies were 10 pounds and C-sections. She is really just quite awful and I feel anxious about my husband not setting a boundary. Hubby, you either deal with your mother and tell her she is not welcomed during the school year or I will and I won't be nice about it. Seriously though, what consequences has she faced for bulldozing your boundaries? That comment about breastfeeding a grandbaby seems to be more and more common here. YUCK. If your husband is not willing or able to address his mother's behavior, you will have to take his advice and ignore her texts. MIL, your comment about nursing my baby is extremely disturbing to me. It was not a joke, it was not funny. That comment, and your unwillingness to follow our boundaries, create safety issues for us. Your son will let you know when another visit can be scheduled. We talked it over, school year visits will not work for us. Anything further, this is not up for debate. Or no. Give her dates for next summer. You've already told her during the school year doesn't work. Add that since your normal housekeeping habits were so stressful to her, it would be best for her to stay in a hotel for future visits and you will meet her in public settings. You don't have to allow her into your house. And provide a few nearby hotel recommendations. He needs to set boundaries, but he can't. He can't keep her from stealing from him. Since he has decided that you have to be the just no wrangler, lean into it. She doesn't care about your feelings, so no need to coddle hers. She keeps spamming you with requests because she's hoping to wear you down. Can you block her? Mute her? Give the exact same response like, we'll let you know when a visit will work for us. We don't know that yet. Maybe screenshot it and send the screenshot. Since she posts things without permission, I'd contact the social media itself and have them remove her posts. Don't send her pics yourself and adjust your settings so she can't see your pics. When she complains, you post pics without permission and it is too exhausting contacting you and arguing with you to get you to take down the pics you know you can't post. This is the easiest way to keep you from doing what you know you aren't allowed to do. When she argues, send the exact same text to her. Part of what you're doing is making fights with you not fun. How's September 3rd, 2027? We could fit you in for 2 nights. Legitimately what I want to say to her. I personally think you should nip this in the bud. The next time she calls and asks for a date, give her a date. If it's during the Christmas break, then give her those dates. Be honest with her. Tell her that the crap she brought last time was donated because you had no use for it. Tell her to ask you beforehand about items she brings because you are freaking tired. She will most likely say something about the date, and when she does, tell her that your decision is firm. And that's the thing, being firm. You are going to have to be firm with her, your Phil and your husband. By the way, if she stole from your husband in the past, she would do it again. Keep your things locked up when she does visit. Oh, and if you don't have a bed for her sleep in, how would she be able to stay with you? I'm a schemer, so I would make my guest room or wherever she would normally sleep suddenly unavailable somehow. Maybe now is a good time to sort out a closet. That takes a long time with a new baby, wink wink. Back in the day they had old school processes from back in the days before back in the day, think 1800 foot s, which were that a home wasn't open, for the season, a time frame in the year that guests will be permitted and scheduled until it was declared as being open. That's part of where we get the basic idea of an open house party from, the first time a family opens their house for the season. So here these old boundaries. 1. It was assumed that the house owners would dictate their season and announce it with an open house, and 2. During the season, usually summer, they would then schedule their guests and present invites for those scheduled dates and times. Many years ago I moved to within a 30 to 40 minute drive of the land of the mouse, and on Facebook I announced that at no time would our home be opened because we were not able to have guests. All the relatives who clearly expected a free place to stay were furious. I reiterated again that the house would not be having an open house and would not be open to guests. I also explained that I would be happy to coordinate with visitors for finding hotels and arranging meeting places outside of the house. It was a small apartment, and that for our nearest and dearest who found they were in dire straits, we would of course offer our couch should they need it for a reasonable while. But that we would not be accepting guests. More fury, and we never, not once, were bothered. Make your requirements clear, please, and apply them consistently. That doesn't mean identically our best friends would have been told in private that of course they can crash at our place, because they demonstrated the sort of engagement and respect and caring that made us want to invite them. But consistently, clearly only want a free place so you can vacation/fulfill your person desires to be near someone, like a baby. They all get the message of not being permitted to so leverage your home for their ends. Clearly want to be with you, for you, no matter where you are. Welcome them. However you want to run it. But make it clear, and make it public, and stick to it, no matter the guilt, anger, manipulations, flying monkeys, or threats of self-harm follow. Your home, your rules. No one gets to tell you that you must have them visit. MIL says I'm not a first-time mom. SHE is a first-time grandma. I have been married to my husband for 10 years. We are biracial and multicultural. Over the years my relationship with my MIL was a pleasant one. Although I am now noticing a strange pattern of behavior from her. While we have been married, she has been NC with at least 5 family members from her family, and she has prohibited my husband to talk to his biological father. She got remarried to a white person when my husband was 18, and she often called my husband's biological father ex-father. She is quite possessive of him, but I guess it never bothered me or really crossed my mind because I only saw her once or twice a year. To be fair, she also seemed to have a story about how everyone was mean, toxic, and abusive, so she decided to cut ties with them. She presented herself as a very open and giving Christian. My extended family was welcomed in her home a couple of times. We both felt so happy our families got along. My side of the family is actually overseas. They felt grateful she was at least a flight away. Things seemed to be going well until we announced the gender of our baby. My MIL got pregnant in high school and she was forced to get married. She had 2 sons and she claimed she always wanted a daughter. For some reason I think she went insane when she found out our baby is a girl. Our baby is the first one in both families, so we expected everyone to be excited. When our daughter was born, things took a turn. I was rushed to the ER 4 times before I was eventually induced. I had a difficult birth and I had complications afterwards. I was in labor for close to 40 hours. I was put on a strong medication and my midwife asked me to have people with me while my heart blood pressure regulated. My husband had to return to work after a month, but I still needed help recovering due to COVID regulations. My mom was not able to come. So my husband offered to call my MIL to help us. From the get-go, living with her was a nightmare. She turned into a monster-in-law right away. She agreed to come and help, but dealing with her unsolicited advice even about breastfeeding even though she did not nurse was a lot. She also started to act crazy. She wanted to sleep at night with my baby and she wanted to pull the baby from the crib. She kept making ridiculous comments like anyone can take away kids from their moms. She also started to make comments to my husband about how I was weak and I needed to do more. I was not, according to her, serving my husband by cleaning, cooking and doing laundry while getting used to my newborn and recovering. She was easily offended and cried when I asked her to do things like, for example, supporting my 5-week-old neck. I kept waking up every morning crying. I really did not want her nearby. She was a hot mess. She could not respect any of my decisions. She challenged me on everything. She also was a horrible guest. Suddenly she was bothered by the fact that we are Catholic because she is a Protestant. She even started to use the box of the rosary that we used at our wedding as a phone holder. She several emotional meltdowns because I did not take some of her advice, like not using the car seat while driving. She wanted me to hold my baby on my lap. She also wanted me to feed baby formula with some cereal at night so my husband could sleep longer. She also had a tantrum because she wanted to reorganize my kitchen and I just let her, but then she said I treated her like a maid. I had such a hard time with her that I just called my boss and begged to come back to work remotely for 2 weeks so I would have to see her as much. We live in a dense city in a 2-bed apartment, which she kept making me feel bad for because can't compare to her big Dallas house. My office desk was at the time on the room she sleep on. And one day she went through my journal and found notes I wrote about a session my husband and I had with a couple counselor that week. We, my husband and I, agreed we need to work on boundaries at work and at home. Those were my exact words. Just that sentence set her off. She took a picture of my notes. I noticed she was extra mean to me during the week, but on Saturday morning she called my husband to and show her the notes. She asked him not to tell me anything and stormed out of the apartment. So he ended up telling me what happened. She spent hours walking and eventually came back crying, saying she did not feel welcome at our home. My husband asked me to not apologize but provide context and explain the notes were not about her. She called me inconsiderate because I'm not a first-time mom, she's a first-time grandma. She said mean thing to me. Then one thing that hurt a lot is that my husband was watching this unacceptable behavior, but he was paralyzed and did not want it to hurt her feelings. Over the past few days I have been replaying on my mind what went down in my house. Granted, I am super hormonal, but I feel emotionally abused by her. I can't think of anything I did except allowing my husband to ask for help when we needed it. Being postpartum and dealing with this has been difficult for me. Luckily she went home, but now she keeps texting and telling my husband horrible things about me. She was dismissive of me on Mother's Day. She did not even said Happy Mother Day and ignored me when we video called, and this hurt my feelings. She then sent my husband a package with tons of clothes with messages saying Happy First Father Day, and she wrote on the box, just because fathers should and deserve to be celebrated. I guess I need validation that my MIL is insane. How can I support my husband in dealing with his mother? Also, what can I do to move on? I feel stuck, feeling sad and angry about how she treated me. My husband recognizes that she was mean, but he thinks is not that bad. He think I should move on and forgive her. He wants her in our lives and he wants her to be part of our daughters. I right now can't stand to even hear about her. How can I allow my baby spend time with someone who does not respect me and my boundaries? Your husband needs to get his head out of his butt. His mother alienated his father, she was abusive to his wife who was healing, and he thinks she deserves respect. Get on the winning team, or you can let mommy ruin every relationship for the rest of her life. You need a therapist willing to deal with this issue. Also get someone from your family to come, let him see how respectful loving people treat a new mother. You deserve to be cosseted and loved at this tender time, not abused by his mother aided by him. Please show this post to your husband. Are you still in counseling with your husband? I feel like if you aren't, you should be, and this needs to be a focus. No one who treated me this way would have any access to my children. Your husband needs to step up and put her in her place. We had a couple sessions. Our therapist suggested that we do not discuss his mom and give her time. She wants him to reach out to her and invite her for a therapy session for the two of them. She sounds nuts. But your husband needs to back you up. I feel emotionally abused by her. Good. Because that's what's happening, and now that you recognize it as abuse, you can put a stop to it. He think I should move on and forgive her. Tell him that there will be no moving on or forgiveness until she apologizes for disrespecting you, your home, your religion, and your role as your daughter's mother. Until then, you are cutting all contact for your own peace of mind. And insist on couples counseling. I'll play devil's advocate. Once MIL knows your DH is on her side, she will push a wedge deeper into your relationship until you are gone and she's raising your daughter with her son. You need to be one team, because remember all of those cruel things she said to your DH to alienate him from his father? She'll be saying that to your daughter to alienate you. I don't know why no one touched on MIL's comment of anyone can take away kids from their mom. That stuck out to me, especially after OP mentioned that MIL's always wanted a daughter. She's trying to get her formula feed, wants baby to sleep in bed with her, all of those things point to MIL wanting LO for herself. And just because she lives overseas, doesn't mean that she's not capable of taking LO. Look at that MIL that had broke into their son and DIL's house, stole babies and son's documents including passport and booked tickets for them to leave together. MIL has already snooped through the house and has clearly shown that she's not stable and wants to be number one in LO's life. If it's possibly, MIL shouldn't be part of their lives, and I've said this before, no grandparents are better than bad ones. This is coming from someone who has cut both their own father and stepfather out of their lives to protect their children and husband from toxic behaviors. Your feelings are 100% valid. She is jealous that you have a daughter and she doesn't, and she is punishing you for it. She wants to have decision-making power over your daughter. She is not entitled to that. She can express her opinion, but she is supposed to respect your decision, not throw a tantrum. She does not care for you and does not respect you as the mother of her grandchild. You need to seriously consider not letting her babysit. She will not respect your rules and she may say bad things about you to your daughter. Your husband may not like this, but he needs to understand that his mother's words and actions can hurt your daughter physically and emotionally. You cannot force your husband to change his relationship with his mother. He needs to do that on his own. But he needs to be aware of everything going on and how this will impact you and your daughter. I think this needs to be addressed in couples counseling, as this could cause issues in your marriage. Maybe if you only see her once a year, she won't be such a problem. If you're still in therapy, I would speak about this with your therapist. I'd read this entire post to them and have your husband there. Your Mil sounds mentally ill and I would never have contact with her again. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.